This Atlanta native rose from a homeless orphan to a famous artist, eventually becoming a kingpin in Atlanta's streets. However, his shady past would eventually catch up with him as he was reaching the peak of his career. This is the story of Ralo, the self-snitching kingpin of ATL. Born Terrell Davis, Ralo's life would be chaotic from the start, as seen in his social media. A post from 2016 read, "My dad was 53 years old when I was born. He's almost 80. My mom was 25. I guess he was her sugar daddy. 'Cause soon his ass went broke, I ain't see him no more. My mama has been drunk and on powder my whole life. That f***ed up my childhood terribly." Eventually, he would end up homeless between the ages of 12-14. His father was making money in the streets as a drug dealer, but that didn't help him considering that they didn't have a relationship. Despite them being distant, Ralo ended up entering into the same line of work as his father, and by the time he was 16, he'd been detained in juvenile detention centers 32 times for selling drugs and shootings. Ralo used his connections to not only maneuver his way through the streets, but to get his rap career underway. At the age of 19, he dropped his debut project, American Gangster, with the help of his friend, Young Scooter. Through his mentor, he got features with the likes of Future on Can't Lie. Eventually, he'd be rubbing shoulders with the likes of Gucci Mane and 21 Savage. Ralo used his connections to garner a status as a hood legend, and this enabled his operation to surpass whatever his father would have imagined during his days slinging drugs. Attempting to launder some of the money he was raking in, Ralo bought an entire block and owned 26 apartment units while giving a percentage of his money back to his community. When he wasn't overseeing his empire, Ralo was known to be a little hot-headed when it came to his relationships with other rappers in the game. At one point, he took it upon himself to beef with almost the entirety of Memphis, including Black Youngsta, Yo Gotti, and Moneybagg. But while these beefs didn't escalate much further than a war of words, things got really intense with one of the biggest rappers from the other side of his city in Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug. While he was going after the Rich Gang, he even attempted to get Thug shot and admitted to it in interviews. Later, they squashed their beef and even worked together on the track I Know.
So he told Elliot, our jeweler, like, even if Ralo don't for me, he a real gangster, he deserve everything he got. And it kind of like stole my heart. So at that moment, I call everybody, I tell everybody to put guns down on Young Thug. You know what I'm saying? Because it was almost places that he couldn't go in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? We were going to get him.
As entertaining as Ralo's interviews were, this was part of the problem for him. He was doing the opposite of keeping a low profile and was often caught self-snitching. In one particularly revelatory conversation on Vlad TV, he basically lifted the lid on his whole operation.
I was the biggest drug dealer in the Bluff for a long period of time. I had the Bluff and I had Simpson. Like they like two different neighborhoods almost, but they're in the same area. And I was the biggest drug dealer over there, so I had the best quality drugs, and I also had large quantity for a lower price. You know what I'm saying? So I was out beating all my competition around the way.
Due to essentially taking the stand on his interviews, it didn't exactly keep law enforcement off his back. So even when he tried to go legit, there was still a target on his back, and his tendency to flex his money really didn't help. Eventually, his luck had to run out when his private plane was caught pulling into DeKalb Peachtree Airport with 444 pounds of marijuana on it. In terms of street value, that's around $1 million of weed. After he was taken into custody, Ralo was held without bond. Despite the fact that he was facing a very grim future, Ralo refused to roll over, and when the cops tried to get him to cooperate, he wasn't having it. In an IG post in 2019, his team revealed that the government offered him 5 years on his birthday. He smiled, laughed, got off the phone with his lawyer, and fed his entire dorm bags of commissary. Held in prison despite pleading guilty for years on end, Ralo would eventually claim that even though he'd refused to fold, some of his former allies hadn't done the same and had snitched to get a lighter sentence for themselves. IDK how to write or say this, but I'ma just get it off my chest. I've been dealing with a battle within myself, knowing that my mans and them threw me under bus to get them a time cut. I suffer night and day from that pain. In order for me to feel better, I'm trying to put it in me to forgive them, and I beg y'all to forgive them as well. I want to put all this police as shit behind me and move forward in life, as opposed to just refusing to sacrifice his co-conspirators in the drug game. It sounds like Ralo was actively trying to keep it afloat and keep running the operation from behind bars. In 2022, Ralo was granted a $250,000 bond to be released from prison that summer while awaiting sentencing. But the judge got wind of the fact that he'd been doing business from inside jail on an Apple Watch. This evidence strongly suggests Davis continued to engage in illegal drug activity while incarcerated at that facility. Court documents from the time read. It also obviously shows he refused to abide by the conditions of his confinement by obtaining and possessing the contraband watch. In June of 2022, Ralo would finally learn his fate when he was handed an 8-year sentence. However, he was already accredited with 4 years served, and he was also given a 1.5 years off due to good behavior. As a result, Ralo is now a free man again, and his community has rejoiced. Lil Baby was so happy to have him back that he even gifted him with $50,000 in cash. Now that he's out, Ralo seems intent on rebuilding his life.
Welcome to Fun for Days. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and comment your thoughts about the video below, and I'll see you in the next video.